A lobbying group funded almost exclusively with school tax dollars is paying out big bucks to its employees. This is Tuesday, March 4th, 2025.
Texas Scorecard presents the day's first news for the Lone Star State, the Texas Minute, with your host, Michael Quinn Sullivan.
Well, thanks for spending part of your Tuesday on news in the Lone Star State. If you find the Texas Minute useful, I hope you'll give the podcast a rating, and if you have time, leave a review. It'd mean a lot to us, and it helps others find the show. Let's get to today's news. Harris County Commissioners have approved a hefty reimbursement of nearly $900,000 for County Judge Lena Hidalgo and her staff to cover their legal expenses tied to the 2022 bid rigging investigation, despite no charges having ever been filed against Hidalgo herself. Back in 2022, felony indictments were filed against Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo's chief of staff and two other staffers in connection with an $11 million COVID-19 contract and bid rigging investigation. The case was turned over to the Office of the Attorney General in 2024. Earlier this year, the AG's office dropped two charges against the staffers and reduced the charges against Hidalgo's chief of staff in exchange for a pretrial intervention agreement. Last week, Harris County Commissioners approved a reimbursement for Hidalgo and her former staffers to cover their legal fees related to the investigation and lawsuits. Even though Hidalgo was never charged, the county taxpayers are reimbursing her for legal bills of approximately $672,000. Yesterday, the Texas House Ways and Means Committee met to consider a package of bills aimed at reducing Texans' property tax burden with an emphasis on lowering school district tax rates. This is a markedly different approach than that pursued by the Senate, which is focused on increasing the homestead exemption. House Bill 8 by Republican State Representative Morgan Meyer of Dallas proposes $2.8 billion in additional rate compression. In all, the House is trying to reduce school tax rates by about 10 cents per $100 evaluation. Their plan does this by using a portion of the state's nearly $24 billion budget surplus. This approach follows a little more closely to Governor Greg Abbott's push for at least $10 billion in tax relief, which he declared an emergency item in his State of the State address last month. Both the House and the Senate have allotted approximately $6 billion for property tax relief in their respective budget proposals. Republican State Senator Angela Paxton of McKinney is trying to again pass legislation that would increase safeguards against sexually explicit books in school libraries. Her legislation is a priority of Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and one of nearly a dozen measures relating to parental rights in public education. In a hearing last week, Paxton said that Senate Bill 13 would provide increased structure and transparency to local school library standards. It would also prohibit school libraries from containing content that meets the Federal Communications Commission's definition of indecent content. The legislation would require parental access to school libraries, library catalogs, and their child's library checkout records. The Texas Minute will be right back.
Why get your news from people who don't share your values? Get news stories from Texas Scorecard. We provide real news for real Texans. Go to TexasScorecard.com today.
Records show that a taxpayer-funded school lobbying organization is paying over a dozen of its employees' salaries higher than that of the governor. The Texas Association of School Boards is a lobbying organization that's funded almost exclusively by Texas taxpayer dollars through your property taxes. According to records filed with the Internal Revenue Service, TASB paid a combined total of nearly $1 million to just two of its employees during fiscal year 2023. A TASB representative told Texas Scorecard that all of its employee salaries are informed by continual market analysis conducted by a New York-based consulting firm. TASB claims that school districts are saving money by using their services, but policy experts don't see evidence for that claim. James Quintero of the Texas Public Policy Foundation said that TASB is siphoning money that could be better used educating Texas's kids. You can find details of all the stories mentioned today and keep up with the latest news by visiting TexasScorecard.com. This edition of the Texas Minute was based on the original reporting of Michael Wilson, Brandon Waltons, Aaron Anderson, and Will Biagini. He was produced by Nick Shepard in the 1836 studios. I look forward to seeing you out around the Lone Star State. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the first news of the day for the Lone Star State. This has been the Texas Minute with your host, Michael Quinn Sullivan.